When a spoiled and arrogant daughter is confronted with the consequences of her actions, her own father takes extraordinary measures. After witnessing his daughter humiliating a simple cashier at a local market, he decides it is time for her to understand the reality of the people she looks down on. Thus, he makes his daughter work in the place of the cashier. Hello, my friends. I am Linda, and this is the Linda's Stories channel. I hope you enjoy this story. Paul was a very wealthy man, thanks to his success as an excellent lawyer. He had always been very intelligent and fair in everything he did, earning the respect and admiration of everyone around him. Paul was also a widower, a pain he carried in his heart since losing his wife Julia. Claire had been full of life since she was a child, with a promising future ahead of her. However, after Julia's passing, Claire was deeply shaken. Father and daughter clung to each other, and their relationship was what truly mattered to Paul. They were very close, and he did everything possible to ensure that Claire had everything she needed and was happy. It so happened that Paul's good financial condition provided many privileges for his daughter, who had always lived with the best that money could buy since she was young. Now, having just reached adulthood, she was someone superficial and shallow. Claire seemed uninterested in building something of her own. She loved flaunting her father's fortune, attending luxurious parties and buying the most expensive clothes, without worrying about responsibilities. In school, Claire was doing terribly. Her grades were low and she showed little interest in improving. Not even her father's example of dedication and effort seemed to make a difference. Paul, despite all his efforts and love, began to realize that his daughter was straying from the values he so cherished. He knew that something needed to change, but he wasn't sure how to make Claire understand that true wealth goes beyond money. Young Claire mingled with many people of the elite, and the influence of this environment ended up corrupting her. Surrounded by friends who valued ostentation and status above all else, Claire adopted attitudes that deeply worried her father. Paul watched with growing unease as she treated the mansion staff with a cold indifference and often contempt. Every time Claire spoke rudely or dismissively to the employees, Paul felt a pang in his heart. He had fought so hard to build a life based on justice and respect, but he saw his daughter drifting away from these principles. He tried to talk to her, to show her the importance of treating everyone with dignity, but it seemed that his words didn't reach her. Paul knew he needed to act before it was too late, but he wasn't sure how to reach Claire, who seemed increasingly immersed in a superficial and empty world. Until one day, Paul and Claire went to the market together, something rare due to Paul's busy schedule and the time Claire spent with her friends. It was one of the few times they were actually together. Paul, wanting to create a special moment, invited Claire for a family dinner. He wanted to cook something for the two of them, something homemade and simple. Claire, however, reacted with disdain, laughing and saying, "Why do you want to do that if we have employees to cook?" Paul, who had once lived a simple life before his career skyrocketed, missed intimate and homely moments with the family. His wife, who was the cornerstone of the house and promoted these moments of togetherness, was dearly missed. Cooking a dinner for Claire was his way of trying to recapture a bit of that simplicity and reconnect with his daughter. Despite Claire's sarcastic comment, Paul didn't give up. He wanted to show her the value of small gestures and family bonding, something he believed was far more valuable than any material wealth. They went to the market, and the whole time Paul noticed that Claire was glued to her phone. When he asked her to grab an item, she seemed confused and disinterested, unable to find even the simplest things. Paul felt a growing frustration as he realized how his daughter had become superficial and oblivious to the normal aspects of life. The most shocking moment occurred when they were at the checkout, about to finalize their purchases. A woman was packing the items while the cashier rung up the prices. The packer, with a friendly smile, said good evening, but Claire didn't even look at her. The lack of manners was glaring. Needing to grab an item he had forgotten, Paul stepped away for a moment, leaving Claire at the checkout. At that moment, the packer accidentally dropped something on the floor. It didn't ruin anything, but it annoyed Claire. Used to belittling more humble or subordinate people, the snobbish young woman started to laugh and said, "Poor you, huh? A poor packer, and you can't even do this simple job right. You're a useless person." The packer, visibly uncomfortable, remained silent and ignored the highly offensive comment. She seemed afraid of losing her job or getting into a confrontation. Claire, irritated at being ignored, grabbed one of the groceries and threw it at the woman, saying, "Are you going to ignore me? Have you gone mad? I'm going to talk to my father and he'll make sure you get fired. Just wait." Anyone who witnessed the scene was shocked. At that moment, Paul came back and saw the entire scene. Claire, desperate, began to lie, saying that the woman had insulted and cursed at her without reason. What Claire didn't know was that her father had seen everything. Paul, keeping calm, apologized, swiped his card and paid the bill in silence. Addressing the packer and the cashier who also witnessed the scene, he said, "I will come back here later to resolve this in the best way." Claire laughed, thinking that her father was going to sue or ensure that the employee was fired. However, Paul's serious expression indicated that something very different was about to happen. In the car, during the entire drive, the father remained silent. It wasn't anger that he felt, but a profound sadness for almost not recognizing his own daughter anymore. Seeing a child act in such a way could be an unbearable pain. When they arrived home, Paul announced that he was going to rest for a while, cancelling the dinner he had planned. The disappointment was so great that he needed some time for himself. Claire didn't care, saying that she was going out with her friends to a new place in the city. For her, what happened at the market was just another ordinary day. She felt no empathy and did not care about others. Little did she know that her behaviour had lit a fire inside her father, a fire that could no longer be ignored. A few days went by, and Claire had practically forgotten the incident at the market. Her life continued its usual course, filled with social events and distractions that occupied her days. Then, a white envelope arrived in the mail, catching her attention. Upon opening it, a court summons awaited her, making her heart race. Someone had filed a lawsuit against her for defamation and verbal assault. The packer from the market, whose name was Madeline, had taken legal action against her outrageous behaviour that day. Fury bubbled inside Claire as she read each word of the summons. How dare they challenge her this way? She was used to having control, being the untouchable princess of the elite. But now, a simple employee had turned the tables on her. Agitated and indignant, Claire rushed to tell her father about the lawsuit she had received, demanding that he do something to resolve the situation. However, she was not prepared for the response she would receive. With a serious face, her father revealed that he already anticipated she would face legal consequences. He explained that sooner or later, the law and justice would fulfill their role. Confused and shaken, Claire tried to argue, asking him to represent her as a lawyer in the case. Surprisingly, he agreed. What she didn't know was that he had in mind to do what he considered to be the right thing. On the day of the trial, Paul acted as his daughter Claire's lawyer, while Madeline sought redress for the incident at the market. The situation was delicate, with the evident need for Claire to face the consequences of her actions. As the trial progressed, Paul, recognizing the severity of the situation and the importance of repairing the damage caused, proposed a settlement. In a surprising twist, he suggested, Claire will need to temporarily work as a bagger at the market where the incident occurred. Additionally, she has agreed to pay compensation to Madeline for the troubles caused. The expression on Claire's face was priceless. She didn't understand what her father was doing. The settlement was agreed upon by both parties, with the condition that Claire worked with humility and respect during the stipulated period. Meanwhile, the compensatory payment to Madeline would cover the embarrassment and difficulties faced. Despite Claire's initial resistance, she eventually accepted the terms of the agreement, recognizing the importance of taking responsibility for her actions and learning from the experience. After the hearing, Claire was extremely angry with her father. She could not believe that he had offered her to work at the market as part of the agreement. "How could you do this to me?" she exclaimed, her voice filled with anger and disbelief. Her father, with serenity, simply responded, "One day you will thank me for this." To Claire, working at the market was a humiliating and uncomfortable situation. However, as the days went by, she began to notice a change in her perspective. Despite her shameful actions towards Madeline, the market employees treated her with respect and courtesy. She noticed the contrast between the kindness of the workers and the arrogance of some customers, who often displayed rude and snobbish behaviour. This experience was a true awakening for Claire. She began to see the other side of the coin, understanding the difficulties faced by those who worked behind the scenes to serve the customers. The interactions with the rude customers made her rethink her own attitudes and privileges. Gradually, she began to question her past choices and consider the impact of her actions on others. Perhaps one day she would indeed thank her father for this valuable lesson. As the days went by, Paul noticed a subtle change in Claire's attitude. He knew that something inside her was changing, and he wanted to share something important with her. He revealed that on that very day he went to the market and looked for the bagger. Talking with Madeline, the bagger, he noticed a woman of captivating simplicity and manners. Paul discovered that she had no intention of suing Claire, and he learned a bit about her story. Madeline was a single mother who had faced periods of unemployment before landing that job at the market. For her, that job was crucial to support her child. She had already witnessed disrespectful attitudes from arrogant and privileged customers like Claire, and knew that this usually ended badly for the weaker party. Therefore, she didn't want to get involved in it. Paul realized that he needed to find a way to resolve the situation fairly for everyone involved. It was he who advised Madeline to seek her legal rights, assuring her that she had a strong case to win the lawsuit. The idea of a father advising someone to sue his own daughter seemed totally out of the ordinary to any external observer. However, for Paul, it was a matter of principle and justice. Previously, Claire did not fully understand the impact of her actions and the consequences that might arise. Faced with the court of justice and within the bounds of society, Claire needed to learn, unfortunately, in the hardest way possible. The discovery that it was her own father who advised the packer left the daughter stunned. However, deep down she began to understand the magnitude of her actions and how disrespect could reverberate in her life. After this moment, he complemented the conversation with something he deemed crucial for her growth and maturity. He explained why he made her work in that place. Besides learning about humility and respect, there was something Claire didn't know about her parents. With a mix of emotions, Paul shared with Claire a valuable piece of their history. The days when he and Julia, her mother, were young and in love. Despite coming from humble families with limited resources, they never lacked humility and determination. At that time, they worked tirelessly in ordinary jobs while simultaneously dedicating themselves to their studies. Julia was a true source of support and encouragement for her partner, contributing not only emotionally but also financially. With their combined efforts, they managed to cover the costs of materials and college fees. Additionally, they also helped with their family's expenses, all of this on the modest means of a simple salary, something that Claire had previously underestimated. The story left Claire emotional as she discovered this aspect of her parents' lives. Her experience in the market, coupled with this new perspective, made her rethink her attitudes and aspirations. She was determined to follow a different path, honouring her parents' legacy and valuing the importance of hard work, humility and mutual support. As days went by, Claire began to feel the transformative effects of her experience in the market and the story of her parents. Working as a packer not only put her in direct contact with the reality of ordinary people, but also forced her to confront her own attitudes and privileges. At first, she had to overcome the discomfort and shame of being in a different position than she was accustomed to. However, over time she began to realize that it was not status or wealth that defined a person, but rather their actions and character. As she interacted with her co-workers and market customers, Claire saw the world in a new light. She witnessed the resilience and dignity of those who struggled every day to support their families. This experience also led her to reflect on her own choices and priorities. She realized that while money could provide comfort and convenience, it could not buy happiness or personal fulfillment. She began to distance herself from the superficial influences of her social circle and to seek a more authentic and meaningful life. Over time, Claire followed in her father's footsteps and became a great lawyer. She became a passionate advocate for social justice and workers' rights. She got involved in community projects and non-profit organizations, dedicating her time and resources to help those in need the most. Her journey of self-discovery and growth transformed her into a more compassionate, aware, and supportive person. If you enjoyed, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment with a number from 1 to 5 to let us know how much you liked the story. Also, watch the video that is currently on your screen. See you soon.